Now let's add a few raised ridges on the back of our case. So now we want to add a little bit of detail coming here across the back, and we could use the polygons that we've already got here, or we can start to add a few new polygons. We just need to be aware of how that's going to affect our model. So here, let's say we want to add one. We don't really have a lot of detail inside here, so let's go ahead and go to our Insert Edge Loop tool. Let's set this to multiple, and we'll set that to 2. And then we can come in, begin to add those edge loops, and then kind of figure out how wide do we want those. We can do the same thing in here. Go ahead and do that again. And we'll make them about the same thickness here. And then maybe here as well. Although you could use this one in here. That one's going to be about the right size here. All right. Now, if you wanted to split this, you could again split it in half so that any detail that we create, we're able to mirror over to the other side. So let's kind of get rid of these. Now I want this to kind of climb over the top and the back. So let's add a couple more edge loops up here. We'll reset the tool. And let's go ahead and create one in a little bit further and then one kind of right next to that. So now all we have to do is select the polygons. So we've got that extra one on the end to hold the shape. And then we can go ahead and bring this down. And if you want to, you can extend this beyond the seam. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this to end sort of right there. Let's do the same thing here. All the way up to the top there. And then back down. And then we'll do this one as well. Continue that up along the top. And just figure out where we want those to be, and then we can just simply do an extrude. We'll add a little bit of thickness to these. So maybe something like that. We'll check it when we smooth it. You can see we get those nice ridges on the back. I don't want those quite as defined as we have the other ones. And one thing you'll notice is this sort of streaking that you can see here. And again, that's just caused by the fact that we don't have another loop in there. So we can come in and add another loop right in here. And it'll kind of tighten the end of that up a little bit. If you wanted them to be a little bit harder, you could add more edge loops, but I think that will work fine. Okay. Now if you want to add some along the side, you can do that as well. So you can come in here and just keep in mind the ends of this. So if I wanted this to be kind of tight like this one, we would have to add a couple more edge loops in here to be able to do that. So we could come in here and just maybe add one right in there. Take this all the way down. We'll take it down to the same level. And then we'll just mirror that to the bottom part. Go ahead and do an extrude. A little bit of thickness. Smooth it. And you can see on the sides here, we may need to add a little bit more detail. So you could either add a new edge loop to kind of tighten that up, and we'll add one right up here as well. You get that kind of a ridge there. Okay. Now you'll notice one of those edge loops went somewhere we didn't want it to go. So you can see, remember we talked about that edge loop coming in across here? And so if we double click on this, you can see this edge loop was on the wrong side of this one. And so it actually cut into there. So let's actually delete this one. And so this edge loop is coming in right here, and it's becoming the side of this. And so what we can do is cut the edge off early. So up to now, we've just been kind of really quickly dropping in edge loops wherever we want, just because of the nature of the model. But in a lot of cases, you'll have to kind of reroute things. And so one of the things that we can do here is go into our split polygon tool. So shift, right click, split polygon tool, or you can use the interactive split tool here. And let's start from kind of right here, and then we'll draw out to this point, hit enter. So we've now drawn out a line coming out from this side. All right, we can do the same thing underneath here. We'll go from kind of the same spot, something like that. Now, with that cut off, we can use the insert edge loop tool now to add that loop back in, and you can see it stops right before this line here because it's going across quads, so it knows where the opposite edge is. When it gets to this point, that's not a quad anymore, or it's a quad, but and also a triangle. It doesn't really know where to go, and so it'll stop there, which is what we want. So then we can now connect this up manually, going back to our split, and just drop that in, hit enter, and do the same thing down here. Just hit G to repeat that tool, hit enter, and now we've added a loop without having to go across the entire model. So we can kind of tighten that up, but you don't have to take that loop all the way across. We can leave that untouched. So you don't have to take your edge loops all the way across. We've been doing it for most of these just because it's easier to do that with the shape of our case. But in a lot of cases, or a lot of instances, I should say, you'll need to kind of redraw it, and that's one of the ways you can do it. Now, you do have a triangle here, so depending on your pipeline, you may be able to get away with having a triangle in your model, or you may have to come up with a little bit more of a creative solution for rerouting that geometry. So once we've got that kind of set, let's go ahead and delete our history. Let's mirror that back over. This time we've kept the positive x, so we'll change this to negative x, mirror that. I'm just going to make sure, check and make sure that nothing has been merged that I don't want to be merged. So I think it looks okay. All right, we can go ahead and again get rid of this center line here. And now we have those sort of ridges along the back of our case. So the next thing that we want to do is to start to build the latches here. So starting to get in now to multiple pieces, whereas the last one was made up of a bunch of different pieces. We spent a lot of time just on a single piece of geometry. So in the next lesson, we'll work on the latches that we can incorporate into our model.